Great. Okay, so we're going to kick off and run through this. So thanks everyone for attending tonight's training session. So what we're going to run through is the Game Day scoring app. And we've got some videos that are set up. We've also got some downloadable user guides. And I'm going to start off by just talking a little bit about it from the perspective of the club or school administrator, and then in the relation to the scorer side of it. So I'm just going to click onto actually Wellington Softball's page. So regardless of which softball association that you are part of, every softball association will have a page on their website. Here is Wellington's, which has similar information. So this is kind of all the resources in relation to the Game Day app. And this is what we're going to be running through tonight. So if I scroll down here a little bit, we have got 3 videos that are here. We've just updated a couple of them today. And then a little bit further down the page are 2 downloadable user guides. So the user guides are, if I go and open up this one, this should be everything you need to know from the perspective of someone who's a scorer. And if we just scroll down through here, you can print this out if you wanted to go through it. And the 3 videos that we'll go through are covered in screenshots through here as well. The other one is if you are one of the club administrators or club and school administrators. So I'm going to open that one up. And that just has some additional information as to what's available and some things for you to do as a club administrator. And so that's what I'm just going to start off with. So if you're just a scorer, this is not relevant to you because you won't have login access to the back end of your sporty site. But if you're a club administrator and likely you are a scorer as well, I just wanted to quickly run through this part of it. So essentially, each administrator will have an area on Sporty, their Sporty site, that they come and log into, where they go and manage their content. So if you're a club administrator, you'll be familiar with coming in here, going into the dashboard and going into your area here called Team Builder. And then we'll click through into the area called softball registration. This is my test site that's used for a number of things. And what you're going to see on the left-hand side down here are your players, and down the right-hand side, the grades that relate to your association. So these grades mightn't look like your association. This club is connected for the purposes of this through to Auckland. So what's it is. And what you'll end up with is your teams entered in here and all of your players and coaches and managers dragged and dropped into their team on the right-hand side. So so what you will do from the club administrator's point of view is one of actually a couple of things. Why don't I just go through the user guide that will be useful, is you have this area up here called game reports. What this is that when you are using, when your teams and scorers are using the Game Day scoring app and entering information in there, you'll be able to run game reports. And what this is there's some different reports that you can run based on player eligibility, player statistics, and your fixtures team sheets. So what I've got, if I come back to this user guide here, is this is what's covered in this part of this first user guide, and it explains a little bit about what those reports are. So when you come into here, you can now go and generate these game event reports, and it explains there are 3 different types of reports. So this does require, if you're wanting to get the best data and the best eligibility information out of here, you do need your teams to be using the Game Day app and setting people into picking their squad and submitting the squad and picking, using it to score as well. So just lets you get this level of reporting that you can get from here. So that's one part of it. The second part, and this is as the club administrator, is each one of your teams. So when you come in here, each one of your teams will have a scorer code. So this is important, and you must have the scorer code so that someone who's becoming a scorer of your team can gain access. So we're going to cover this in the first video. So each one of these scorer codes is unique per team. And this is, these are not numbers, they're letters only, they're not case sensitive. So that O is an O, it's not a 0, just to let you know. So one of the first things you'll do is come in here and find out the list of what your scorer codes are, because this is what the people scoring your games need to know before they can gain access to the app. So back in here, this also covers in relation to scorer codes. Now, for some of the club administrators, if you were using the Game Day app last year, the method of someone becoming a scorer was not simply by them adding a scorer code. What happened is all of the coaches, administrators would register on the form and be dragged and dropped into their team and then granted access to score the game. You don't have to do that this year. You can simply people can gain access by using the scorer code. It's a much easier way to do that. So what I'm meaning is what happened last year is anyone, so say the coach was going to be someone that was scoring, they would have to register on the form, they would be dragged and dropped into the team, and then the club administrator would come in here and go and invite and send them scorer access. You can still do that this year, but it's far easier using the scorer codes. So we're going to cover that one just shortly. Great. So if any of you have got any queries like that, you can contact us or ask us on the chat. Just one thing to mention is that if any people were scorers last year and you were a scorer for a particular team, you have to be granted access to score for your team this season. Just because you were a scorer last season for that team, even if your team is called the same name, it's in the same grade, you need to be granted access to be able to score that team this season. It doesn't automatically roll forward. Great. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this area here and start off by going through the user guide process. And what I'm going to do is run this first video of how to become a scorer. So we're going to go and open this video out. Sorry, I'm just going to mute it. So the first step is everyone needs to go and download your association's app. So that's the first step they would do, is come and download the app. If you are an existing administrator on Sporty, if you did use Sporty last year, you can actually enter your login details. So you can log directly into the app. If you have never logged into Sporty before, and if you are new, you will click the register here link. So you will register. If you've never registered before, you'll enter your first name, last name, and email address. So this is the new method of becoming a scorer this season, which is a far simpler process. So when you enter your email address, it'll automatically populate that as your username. You can change that if you want to, and you create your own password. And then click register. When you do that, a little pop-up will appear to say that you're registered. And this is where the scorer code comes in, because this is the scorer code that you will enter that was given to you by your club or school administrator. Enter your scorer code and click add. Gives you a confirmation prompt of your team name. And then once you do that, you will see any upcoming games that have been published for your team. So at the end of this, I'm going to discuss a little bit that we've actually set up some dummy draws. So for any of the teams entered into any of the competitions at the moment for your associations, you will have some games that you can come in and practice and score for. So for anyone, if you know that your team, what your scorer code is for your team, you'll be able to come in and log in and see those upcoming games. Continue playing this. Now, if you are an existing administrator, when you log into the app, you would come in and you would see any of your teams previously from last season. And in the top right-hand corner of the screen will be 3 little dots. You would click on those 3 dots, and this will prompt you to enter your scorer code. And you simply type in your scorer code. If you don't know what it is, find out from your club administrator, and you're now the scorer for the Bears team. So you can be a scorer for multiple teams using exactly the same login, but for each team, you will add your new scorer code by clicking on these little 3 dots to keep adding your scorer codes. And you'll continue to swipe through and see any upcoming games that you've got that are published. Great. So that's the first little video. So watch these videos as often as you want, and you can just replay them, and it steps through how to become a scorer code. So feel free to ask any questions on the chat, and we can open that up at the end if you've got any questions there. So once you have gained access to any of your teams, the next one is selecting your game day team. And this is the second video that we've got here. So I'm just actually going to, sorry. We open up this user guide that's here, and this is the user guide for your scorers. We can follow through this. We'll go through the first video that we've been through. So you can see it's talking about if you're a new user, you would come and register, be prompted with your scorer code, then see your upcoming games. If you're an existing user, you would log in, click on the little 3 dots, enter your scorer code, and you will see your upcoming games. Right. Just excellent. Okay. Look at that. So with the dummy draws that we have set up, so some of the draws have just been created today, and depending on which association that you're with, it's just worth mentioning, there are different dates. So if you're with Manawatu, Waikato counties, Hutt Valley and the Auckland ASA comps, the dates of your dummy draws will be the 18th, 19th and 20th of October. If you are with Wellington, your dates of your dummy draw was back on the 29th and 30th of September. So what you may need to do is scroll left when you come into your app to go and see those dates. And likewise, if you're with Auckland and the NFS grades, your dates for that were on the 29th and 30th of September. So the grade for the app is called app training as well, just for you to see those. Excellent. Okay. So the second one is selecting your game day team. So I'm just going to start playing this, and I'll talk through this when this comes up as well. So this is on game day. And this is just showing that once you've logged into your app, you'll be able to scroll backwards and forwards to see your games. So If your games are not published for your upcoming competition, you won't see those, but you will be able to see your games for your dummy draws. So you can scroll through and see your games. Actually, if you end up going in and trying to click into a game that is in the future, you will see a warning will prompt and come up to say, hey, you realize you're actually trying to go into a game in the future. So that's a little pop-up. So to get started, to select your team, click select from your squad. And all of the players that currently sit in your team and team builder will be ticked on. And you can see how through the app, we're just tapping on and off to either select or deselect someone from your game day. So one of the things, you can also pick players from another squad who may be playing, say, up in your competition for a particular game. So when you go in, you go and find the grade and the team that you're pulling the player from, tap on them to select them. In this case, we're selecting 2. Then you click this little back arrow, and you click that back arrow again, and you'll see that those players have been added into your squad. And you'll see here it updates the number of players as well that have been selected. Once you've done that, you click done. The next thing is that you can set your player numbers. So you can scroll down. Now, for some of the competitions and for some of the grades, it is going to be mandatory to select your players. So I know this is particularly the case in Auckland. It's not in Waikato and counties who are new to using the app, but just letting you know that it will be. So check with your association as to whether or not that's a requirement. So this is giving you a little warning if you were trying to actually submit it without having selected player numbers. So in this case, you can either tap on the player, set their number, scroll up, you select them. Once you select a number, it then isn't available for you to select for someone else. And once you've chosen a player's number, they actually appear at the very bottom of the list, and you'll see in this case Shay has got 1 set against them. So then you either tap on the next player and or you can also swipe across. So either swipe or tap to go and set their number. And you'll see how number 1's in use because we've already chosen that one. Click OK. Let's go through. So I'm just going to pause and hop out of this full screen at the moment. So there is some development that's coming next month that will actually increase that area there and give you the ability to also select your batting and fielding lineup. So I've got a little screenshot open here to show you how that will be changing and what it will look like. So you can see in this screen, we've got our players' numbers, and then we've got the order, and we've got the position as well. So there is going to be some new features that are coming through in relation to that. When that happens, we'll be sending out notification to all of the associations. So your association may or may not be using this, but it's just letting you know that there is some additional features that are coming in there as well. So this is just a screenshot of that. So I'll just go back to my video. So you can see the difference with how the screen looks here. So once you've selected your team members, you hit Submit Team. And once you do that, so a couple of things then it happens is that your team is, once you submit your team list is visible to both your opposing team and also the centre. the association. Sorry, I'm not talking netball. So if for any reason after you've submitted your team and you need to make some changes, you can tap on this edit team. So you may not, but this is just showing you how you can if you need to. Click on edit team. And you then back in this state where you can change numbers. If you need to take someone out of your team sheet, you can remove them from your team sheet by clicking remove player. And that removes that from your game day team list. And then submit your team. So once you submit your team, or in this case, resubmit your team, you will see that it shows you the name of the person, the time and the date. And it also shows you, if you have resubmitted your team sheet, the most recent time that you've actually gone and submitted it. You can then click view team. And what that does is it generates your own little team sheet for you that you can tap the little share in the top right hand corner of the app and send it to yourself or message it to yourself. Great, so that's showing the selecting a game day team. So what I was just going to do is I'm just going to open it up, and I've just enabled people if they want to talk. So if you had any questions, if you want to sort of ask them now, let me know and we can talk through them. Otherwise, I'll just keep going on to the next video, which is how to score the game. So we'll just keep going through this one, but people are unmuted, so if they want to, they can actually ask questions now. So this is the actual scoring of the app. So on game day, log in, scroll through your games to make sure you got the correct game. If you do try and go into the wrong game, a date in the future, it will send a prompt to you. It will display a message on the screen, a warning. And we click here to tap score game to start scoring the game. So this is how your main scoring screen looks. The team currently in blue is the team that's batting. If you need to change that, you can actually click where it says click the change sides, and you'll see at the top it's gone and changed it from being ABC Softball Club to the Baja United Softball Club and back. So just tapping in and changing it. And one of the things with using the dummy draw is practice having doing this, having a look at us, and experimenting with it. So to start the game, you click Start Game. It starts the timer. So I'll talk through part of this, but I will also skip through this a little bit because we go through, the app repeats what it's going through. So you'll see how you can go and click the little plus to add balls, or the minus to remove them. So we're tapping through and doing that. Once 4 balls are recorded, you can prompt it to clear it. Clear. And likewise, you can see the little plus and minus to add or remove strikes. You can, once you then select an out, you can assign it to a player. You may or may not do this, but as I mentioned back when we were talking about the eligibility reports and the reports, the game day reports that the club administrators can generate, relies on players being put into positions and also to be recording the runs and the outs against a particular player. So if you're wanting a greater level of information getting out of the app, it's setting and choosing players when you're actually doing scoring like this as well. So as you are doing scoring, it actually records it in your app. So this is if we're scoring, and sorry, if someone's watching the game, they actually can see live what's happening to the game as well, if you are actually scoring as the game's going. So I just flicked back a little bit. So if for any reason you need to go and make a change, you can simply tap on what the event was, and it brings up a little edit screen. So you can change the time, the points, the innings, or who the player that it's against if you need to. And save it, or you could even delete the record of it if it's by mistake. It's just showing you how you can go and change who the score was recorded against. And simply tap delete, and that will give you a little prompt to delete it if you need to edit the score. Okay, so in this case, as it says, 2 outs recorded by the 2 blue dots, you can choose an out and assign it to a player. Once you've recorded 3 outs, the app recognises it and automatically prompts you to change sides. It automatically changes the team that's going to be batting and puts it in blue at the top of the screen. And then you can simply keep recording it as you're going through. I'm just going to skip forward these little bits, but it's actually just going through the same events, showing how you can record the strikes and the outs and record it against players. So I'll let you come back and watch this in your own time. This says here, when you get team at the bottom of the innings has recorded 3 outs, you'll be prompted to change sides. And then it automatically records that it's the end of the 3rd innings, and changing which the team is now going to be in bat, displayed in blue. So this is if you're using the app to score and scoring live. At the end of the game, so we've come to the end of the game, you stop the clock and can go and select the submitting of the full-time score. This also gives you the ability to add a comment. So when you click that, a little box will appear and you can type in a comment or not. We've introduced, this is something new, is in relation to the tiebreaker. We're not going through in this app video and explaining about it, but it is covered, the tiebreaker is covered in the user guide if you are getting to the stage of using tiebreakers. So some of the associations may not be, but I know Auckland is. So that's in the user guide as well. That, and this is where you can add a comment. So if you add a comment when you submit the final score, the comment is visible through to the association, but it's not visible through to the opposing team. At the end of it, you get your run, your score history coming out through here, your timeline, and you can generate a match report and share it with yourself. And you'll see the score is now updated in the app. This is important as well, just down the bottom here. It's a little bit hard to see. It shows you the timestamp and the name of the scorer who submitted the score, and that's visible through to the association. And it's just showing how you can go and generate a match report to yourself. So you can generate it as a PDF. So this is from the perspective of the team scoring, but your club will also be able to see that information through running their game events reports. You now see our score has been updated. At any stage you can go back and edit it. Excellent. So another, just one of the things that we are also, there's going to be another change that we're going to be introducing, and is the ability just to submit the score. So to, in effect, start scoring the game and then go and just submit a final score. So this has been requested by some of the associations who aren't using all of the features of setting positions against players and things like that. They just want to actually generate the final score. So there is going to be, that is going to be released in a few weeks, and we'll be letting the associations know when that's available. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to run through?
Yeah, I have one. The scorer code, can it be used by more than one person?
Yes, it can.